Welcome to Wednesdays with EWAT. This is Shanti Kumaraswamy Street, your business English coach here at English with a Twist. It is Wednesday, the 7th of February, and we are here for lesson 54 of Wednesdays with EWAT. Hi everyone, how are you all doing? Do, as you're coming in, say hi, because I'd love to know if you're in. I know that Gabi won't be able to make it in today's class, so sorry about that. You're too busy, Gabi, but I hope to see you next week, and I hope you can catch up with the recording of this lesson. But I can see Evelyn is here. Lovely to see you, Evelyn. I really enjoyed our discussions and your contribution last week, so I'm looking forward to more of your contribution this week. So it is lesson 54, 7th of February. It is super cold here in the UK. We woke up with a sprinkling of snow on our cars, and it was like super cold actually. Yesterday afternoon we went for a walk with our dog, and I have to say it was bitterly cold. I don't know where the rest of you are. Hopefully it's going to be warmer where you are than where we are, but I think this very cold spell is going to be only for this week, and I hope we can begin to see some warmer weather, so that would be lovely. I am now going to refresh my Facebook page here on my laptop so I get to see everyone who's joining in and the comments. It's much easier than on the iPhone. So great stuff. It's sunny and warm in Lima. Evelyn, lucky you. Wonderful. And so you're in Peru. Keiko, you're from Myanmar. Keiko, why did I get this feeling you were in Japan? You're Japanese, but you live in Myanmar. So hi Keiko, lovely to see you. I can see that Rosie has joined and she's watching, so that's wonderful. So if anyone is in here who hasn't actually put their hand up and said hi, feeling a bit shy, welcome to English with a Twist, and for the regular Wednesdays with EWAT lessons that we have, the program that we meet up every week. This is lesson 54 or episode 54. English with a Twist is the place to be if you are a business professional looking to improve your confidence, take control in the way you communicate in business with English. This is not about having perfect English. This is about getting that confidence and control in how you communicate. So it's giving you the tools that enable you to communicate more easily, more confidently. So that's what we're all about. So in case you haven't joined the EWAT community, I would recommend that you join us by going to the website englishwithatwist.com and signing up. And there you will get the regular weekly lessons that are the audio blog posts that I send to you every Friday. You get access to the Wednesdays with EWAT lessons that are recorded and then added to the website. And you also get the Business Idioms and Coffee to Go, which is a series of business idiom videos, 1-minute videos that I share with you on social media, but then also put onto the website. So there's a lot in the community that we share. But so, if you haven't joined, please do. And if you know someone else or a colleague who you feel could benefit from gaining more confidence in English in business, then do recommend that they join us. That would be wonderful. So Keiko, you're saying, no, that is your Facebook name, but otherwise you're Burmese. So lovely to see you, Keiko. Azalea, happy to be back. We had so much things to do at school. You have not been able to join the lessons. So Azalea, that sounds interesting. Are you at business school? Are you a business professional? Are you working in business? Because English with a Twist is very much for professional business people who are in business, people who are using English to communicate in business and want to succeed. So if you're at school, if you're still at school, then this might not be the most helpful of places to be. But Eman, hello Baghdad. It's a long time, okay, but nice to see you again. I'm so glad you've joined the class. Before we start with today's lesson, we're going to be talking about time, the concept of time. But before we start, I wanted to remind some of you about last week's session. You might have been able to catch the recording. Maybe you were there at the lesson, so you remember that we talked about long-term goals and how setting long-term goals are quite impossible and, are often not the right way to do things because they're very difficult to achieve. And actually the way that you're going to stay motivated and stay focused is to set yourself smaller short-term goals. And we talked about small wins and how that you need to, what is always good in life and in learning your English for business is to celebrate those small wins. So when you break down those large goals, break them down into smaller goals and then celebrate those goals the moment that you've achieved them. So we're talking about small wins. The other thing I shared also last week, and I don't know if you saw them on Facebook or on social media, I share every Thursday, I share with you a relevant business quote or a quote on life. And one of the quotes I shared on Thursday, the quote I shared last Thursday was about how all progress starts or happens when one is outside one's comfort zone. So when all progress starts or happens outside our comfort zone. And the analogy or the image I gave you was if you imagined you were a runner and you've set the goal to run 5 kilometers and you want to be able to run 5 kilometers in 3 months or in 4 months time. So the first 3 months you run maximum 2 kilometers and you feel very comfortable running those 2 kilometers. That's great, wonderful. You're feeling good, you're able to do it and you're happy with that. And you feel comfortable. Now the trouble is that that's good, but if you're going to keep running 2 kilometers, you're never going to achieve your goal of 5 kilometers in the time that you've set yourself. But gosh, really, if I'm going to go beyond 2 kilometers, it can get really uncomfortable. It starts getting really difficult. You start struggling. It's so uncomfortable. It's painful. In other words, it's outside your comfort zone. You feel uncomfortable. It hurts. You don't want to do it. But you're never going to achieve your goal. So the only way you're going to achieve that goal of 5 kilometers is you have to get outside your comfort zone. That is the only way that any of us is ever going to achieve our goals. If we stay too comfortable within ourselves and don't ever push ourselves, 1, we will never know what we're capable of, and 2, we won't achieve our goals. As Beijing Jin says, no pain, no gain. Exactly. Now, why I mentioned this, so I was talking about the small wins, celebrating small wins, and pushing yourself outside that comfort zone. I want to share today very briefly a small win, and I want to share with you what happened to one of my clients. I've been coaching her on my one-to-one coaching programs for the last 4 to 5 weeks. We had a program before Christmas and now we've continued with a new program. Now this particular client of mine, she's a lovely lady. And she deals with the logistics side in her company, and she has to she came to me because one of the things that she's most afraid of is picking up a telephone and calling her suppliers. She has to deal with a number of suppliers in Russia, China, Spain, wherever you are. Wherever she is, she has to deal with them. Now, she hates making these phone calls. Why? Because she is so self-conscious of her English, or what she thinks is her bad English. So instead of making those phone calls, she will write emails. The worst thing is if she gets a phone call and she can see there's a phone call which is an international phone call, she will let the phone ring until it goes to voicemail, and she would wait until she got them, then she'd listen to the voicemail message and then respond via email. Why? Because she was in an open office environment. She was so conscious of speaking English in front of her colleagues. So there were a lot of obstacles here. She was afraid, she felt silly, and yet she has been doing her job for years. She's an expert. She knows her job inside out. She is very good at her job. But she somehow froze the moment she had to speak in English. So she would keep writing emails. The trouble with writing emails is that often you have to deal with issues quickly, right? Imagine you have to give an answer to someone. You don't have the luxury of sending an email, waiting for the email response. So so you have to respond. And the only way you're going to be able to respond is through a telephone call, making that telephone call. So we started with this program where, a lot of her problem was psychology. And a lot of this is what I find with my clients. As I coach them, I realize that a lot of obstacles that you're setting yourself are psychological. So for her, it was very much this psychology, the psychological barrier. She was saying, it's like, I cannot communicate, I cannot do it. And yet she could communicate via email. She could do that. It's not perfect English, but she could get her message across, communicate, say what she needed to her suppliers. Her suppliers could respond, and they could perform their duties, perform their tasks. Anyway, this is very interesting. Today we had a coaching session this morning. And I asked her, hey, have you had any phone calls this week with anyone? She said, yes. She said, yes, and I'd love to have, yes, I had a phone call yesterday with a Spanish supplier. There was a problem and blah, blah. And so she started telling me about it. She said there had been a misunderstanding, and there was potentially an expensive and serious mistake that had happened, and that needed, and it was an urgent matter that needed to be dealt with. So what happened was that there was this problem, and she started with an email to the supplier. She got a phone call from this transport company saying, hey, listen, we've arrived here, but the goods are not here to be delivered or to be loaded onto our truck. What do we do? Now, rather than pick the phone up, she emailed the supplier. And what did the supplier do? The supplier called her, because I said, really? Called you? But I said, why didn't you call him straight away? This is an urgent matter. Oh, Shanti, I was too scared. I said, all right, okay, so he called you. Anyway, very long story short, they solved the problem. They dealt with the matter. They did everything. And I said, so how did you feel? How did you feel at the end? Yeah, it was okay. So you solved the problem. You managed to do it. She said, yes, Shanti, but my English wasn't perfect. I said, hold on. The priority was you solved a problem. There was an urgent matter. You know what? Sometimes we don't have the luxury of having perfect English. But what was your priority? You had a problem, a potentially expensive mistake that was made that would cost your company. You needed to solve it. What did you do? You both communicated. Did he understand you? Did you understand him? Yes, yes. Did you solve that problem? Yes. How long did that phone call take? 6 minutes. Finished it. All done. Finished. She said yes. I said, so I said, that's fantastic. She said, yeah, but I like to be a perfectionist. But I said, no, but you got to do it. This is, sometimes reality is that we do not have the time to be perfect. You have to get a job done. So do it. Sometimes we need to let go of perfection. We just have to say, this will do, and do it. Okay, so this is how we ended up our coaching session today. And I said, listen, I want you to think about, reflect on that conversation. Think about what was urgent. What was your priority? Did you manage to get what you needed to get done? And you happen to use English in that situation. So for me, that was a successful phone call. Anyway, that's it. We're finished and whatever. And during the course of the day, I'm there in the morning, I was working, and she sends me a WhatsApp message. She says, you know what, Shanti? Guess what? I've just made an urgent call to a Russian supplier. I said, really? Why? She said, well, we needed something and it was urgent. I decided to pick up the phone and make that call. She and I was so proud of her. Hey, this is a woman who up till now hadn't done anything. And I said, I am so proud of you. You pushed yourself. You got outside your comfort zone. You did it. And I said, how did it feel? And she said, great. She said, I did it. I said, you've done it. Now I want you to write down, how did you feel after that phone call? How did it make you feel? And remember that the next time you have to make a phone call. This is very small, right? But this is huge. That small thing is huge for her. And I wanted to share this with you before we can start the real lesson, because this is what it's all about. It's celebrating your small win, celebrating the fact that you pushed yourself out of that comfort zone and made something happen. And I am so proud of her. And I think that this is what it's all about. She was effective. I can see Ron is saying she was effective. She got what she needed to do. And I said, you have a job to do. Your company is relying on you to do it. You did it. You managed it. You didn't have perfect English. It doesn't matter. Neither did the Russian supplier. Neither did the Chinese supplier. But you both communicated. You both got what you needed to get done. That little bit of what she did today was she made that decision. I'm not going to sit there and send an email. I need this dealt with urgently. And she did it. And that will encourage her to try again. Because once you've done it, the first time you've done it, you're going to do it again. Because it wasn't so bad. Because I asked her, how did it feel? And I said, capture that. Write that down. How did you feel? And here's the thing with language learning. You can have the most perfect language. You can have the best way of talking about, you know, I've got the best vocabulary. I've got this wonderful vocabulary. No. The important thing is the emotion. How communication is all about emotion. You know, if I'm able to explain myself in whatever language and I get someone understanding me, how do I feel about that? I feel good. Similarly, you understand what they've said. You feel good. Hold on to that because that is emotional. That's intangible. You cannot touch it, but you can feel it. Now, imagine you decide that is you are going to plan how you want to feel. That is empowering. That is going to make you feel powerful. You know, my client who doesn't have perfect English, she made it happen. She decided to do it herself and she did it. I am so proud of her. You can't even imagine, because I just think she had such a psychological obstacle and she achieved that. So kudos to her. I am so proud. I wanted to share with you. Wasn't you saying the failure is the base of success? Yes, we fail. But, you know, and this is the problem. We're so scared of failing that we don't even try at the beginning. Rosie is saying emotions are the most difficult thing to control. Yes, but what if you could? And but you can't control how you feel, but in the sense of at that moment, but you can plan to want to feel something. You think, you know, if I do this, I know how I'm going to feel. I'm going to feel so great. So I'm going to try and make this happen. Because only you can make it happen. I can't make it happen. I couldn't change her to do something, you know, that she didn't feel comfortable with. It's up to you to do it. And only you then. And when you do it, you think, yes, I did it. Now, maybe the next time it's going to be bad. You might have a terrible phone call. The line is bad, or you don't understand, or they still don't understand you. I know. You know, the next time's not necessarily going to be perfect, but you did it. You took that small step. So celebrate that small win. You got out of your comfort zone. And that is all that, you know, successful learning, successful progress in whatever we do is all about. That's all we're trying to do, is to keep pushing ourselves. And the trouble is, you know, as adults, it's always harder and harder, right? Because we have a set of standards that we have behind us, and we are so scared of failing or of looking stupid or of looking, and you know, the more senior you are in your company, the more senior you are in your position, the more experienced you are in your job, the more stupid you feel. And yet, no, it doesn't have to be that way. But you are in control of that, so you need to really control how that happens, how it can happen. And it's in the small things. And that's what coaching, and that's what, you know, I like to think that is what I'm there for, to help. I can't change things, only you can, but I can encourage people. And when I see that, this is why I do my work, because that is so empowering for me, for you. Yes, and pride comes in, absolutely. You just feel so proud of yourself. And it only takes a small little thing, right? And that's what we need. Our days are made up of small little wins. Don't ever forget that, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I want to share. Now, let's go back to what I was going to talk about in this lesson 54. But it is still very relevant to what I want to share with you today. So it's always reminding yourself of those small wins, celebrating those small wins, pushing yourself outside that comfort zone, and never ever say, oh, it's impossible. Everything is possible if you break it down. Evelyn, you're saying besides self-confidence, the second important thing is thinking about what others need and feel. Yes, it's empathy. It's feeling how they, you know, and also it's communication. When we're communicating in our jobs, we you know, you want to feel good in that what you've been able to communicate with them, and they've managed to communicate with you. Benjin, you're saying, you know, it takes only a small spark to start the fire. Absolutely. Exactly. Ron, yeah, you're celebrating successes, because we're so quick to talk a lot about our failures and not our successes. And remember last week what I talked about. People always go on about these huge successes. You know, they built a company, £1 million company, and we talk about the big successes, but nobody talks about the small ones. Why? Because it's just not sexy, isn't it? Who wants to talk about the fact that she made a phone call to a Russian supplier? So what? I make dozens of phone calls every day. Excuse me. Hello, but that might be great for you, but for me it was a big thing. Just like we encourage children, we as adults need encouragement. So, you know, make sure you do that, because at the end of the day, we are our worst enemies. We can either be our worst enemies or we can be our best friends. So it's only helping ourselves, encouraging ourselves, and never saying that you're not good enough to do anything. Okay, that's my little pep talk on that side in terms of encouragement and motivation. In lesson 54 today, I wanted to talk about the concept of time. If you follow me on my Facebook page, you will have seen I shared with you one of the posts I wrote that you will find in my EWAT archive to do with the concept of time. And I shared with you 12 metaphors we use in the English language talking about time. And I will share the link with you in case you didn't see that in on the Facebook page. So I'm going to talk about time today. And I'd like you to answer this question first, okay? I'd like you to answer, I'm going to give you the sentence. When I get more time, I'll, and so please complete the sentence. So I'm going to write it down here in the chat box. When I get more time, I'll... Okay, when I get more time, could you please complete that sentence and share it with me in the chat box? When I get more time, I'll travel more. Thank you, Evelyn. Okay, when I get more time, I'll travel more. Anybody else want to share with me what they're going to do when they get more time? I mean, I'm going to share with you. When I get more time, I'll read more books in Italian. That's what I keep telling myself. When I get more time, I'll read more books in Italian. When I get more time, I'll organize my photo library. When I get more time, I'll start yoga. Luciana, when I get more time, I'll rest more. Althea, yes, when I get more time, I'll make sure to tidy up my room. Alice, I'll try to learn more. Okay, I need a bit more information. I'll find some meaningful time with my loved ones. When I get more time, I'll be more free. Okay, Ron, free to do what? When I get more time, I'll pick up knitting. Rosie, lovely. Hey, knitting is a new thing, isn't it? For a while, they've got knitting clubs. I'll explore new places when you get more time. Okay, so quite a lot of you have got some nice, quite big ambitions here. You know, travel. When I get more time, I'll get more exercise. Okay, so you're going to do more exercise. So lovely. You're going to explore more places, Keiko, right? Nice. Okay, wonderful. So when I get more time, I'll do this. Okay, when I get more time, I'll do this. Okay, my next question to you is, so I asked you when I get more time. So my question, Ron, you're saying you're going to be, you'll have more time to dedicate to your garden, to work in your garden. Thank you for that. My next question to you is, when do you expect you'll get this extra time? So when do you expect to get this extra time? When do you expect to get this extra time? Next week? Next month? In the next 6 months? Next year? When you retire? In 10 years' time? So what time frame are we looking at here? When are you going to get this extra time? When's it going to happen? Exactly, Luciana. Right, because now some of you have some big ambitions there, traveling more. Rosie is saying when I get a maid to do my housework. Okay. Okay, Ron's saying yes. Now he's going to have the time. So Evelyn is giving me 3 years. Okay, Luciana is saying I have to make the time. Okay, great. Now some of you had long-term ambitions, right? So traveling more, and you know, so of course that is a long-term ambition. So you need to think about, yes, when traveling more requires me to, yes, my daughter has to grow up a bit, because then that will allow me or free up more time to do that. So Althea, you're saying next weekend here in Brazil, it's a public holiday, so I'll be able to clean my bedroom. All right, so you'll find the time next. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so there's this extra time. Some of you have got ambitions. Okay, so Marie Jane is saying when she has more money, she'll do more exercise. And someone has just said to me that when they have more than 24 hours, wonderful. Yeah, because here's the news, right? I've got news for you. Here's the thing, right? There are only 24 hours in a day. There are only 7 days in a week. And there are only 365 days in a year. You know what I'm going to say, right? So depending on what it is you want to achieve, there might not be this extra time. So what are you going to have to do? Like Luciana says, you're going to have to find that time. But not just find the time. You might have to actually replace the time with something else. And what I'm talking about here is where we always keep telling ourselves, when I get more time, I will do this. And it's not necessarily about those big plans that we have, in our future of traveling more, exploring more. That I completely respect, and I understand that you have to have more time. I'm talking about the stuff that you could be doing now. Like me, reading more books in Italian, in French. What do I say to myself? Oh, when I get more time, I'll do it. My reality is, here we are, I'm using my conditional tense, right? So if we want to practice it, when I have more time, I will do it. Yeah, my first conditional. Might happen, might not happen. When I have time. When will you? Exactly, Ron's saying when. Well, when will you have that time? You'll never have that time. Not that extra time. Not if your 24 hours in a day is only 24 hours. It's not going to be more. So, in other words, you think, when I have more time, I'll exercise. When I have more time, I'll learn yoga. When I have more time, I'll do this, whatever I'm going to do. When I have more time, I'll spend it with, family or whatever it is. Beijing, you're saying most of us want to dedicate everything we want to do, end up more than 300%. I don't follow what you're trying to say. Most of us want to dedicate 100% to everything we want to do. So we end up doing what? Dedicating more than 300%? So let's go back. So we have this time and we're sitting there and thinking, yeah, when I have more time, I'll do this. Let's talk about your English. Let's talk about working on your English, because here we talk about goals, right? So last week we talked about long-term goals. Okay, they're impossible. Let's break it down. Let's get it into smaller manageable goals. We're going to celebrate those wins, and then we're going to do that. So we sit there and we have all these little goals. We think, fantastic. Now the challenge is, where exactly are you going to find the time to do this? Yeah, so Evelyn, absolutely. Sometimes not a matter of time, but also of budget. Let's put aside budget. Let's talk about time. Because this is the number one obstacle that most of us, and I am talking about most of us because we're all very busy. Everyone's busy. We're all busy. And this is the one big excuse we'll always tell ourselves. I have no time. I don't have any extra time. My schedule is completely full. I do not have a minute more to spend on anything. Come on, I have work, I have my family. There's just no way I can possibly fit in that extra time to work on my English, or to work on my favorite hobby, or to do more painting, or to do more drawing. Oh, Rosie, I'm so sorry the connection's bad. Hopefully you can catch up with the recording. See you soon. Yeah, we can't. I mean, my husband's the same. I'll say to him, he loves drawing. So when are you going to, draw? And yeah, when I have a bit more time. Okay, so, and, the time. Yeah, when I have more time. I'm thinking, well, you know what? You'll never find the time. You're never going to find more time. You need to make the time, like we've decided. So what do we do? How can we go about sorting this out? What are we going to do? Because, okay, we all agree. We all have 24 hours. I mean, if you were to look at your day, right? Break it down. How many hours do you spend sleeping? How many hours do you spend at work? How many hours do you spend with your family? So if you were to be really disciplined and say, okay, and I've done this before, right? I sit down and I go, okay, if I looked at my schedule, if I looked at my day, I get up at a certain time, and then look at exactly what you do in a day. okay, there's certain things that you think, right, okay, I have to do. There's just nothing I can do. I've got to prepare the breakfast. I've got to do whatever. I have to commute to work. I have a job to do, and I work 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 12-hour days, whatever, right? Then we come home and I do this, and then I have to, you know, and so look at your day. Be really, look at that and say, okay, I need 8 hours sleep. Some people need more, some people need less. But let's say we've got 8 hours. That leaves us with 24 minus 8, and my is 16 hours, correct? 16 hours. So in that 16 hours, you're going to break it all down. Now, how about looking at then you so you think about all the important things you need to do, things that you have to do, right? You cannot not do, right? Work, eating, preparing dinner, preparing meals, everything else that you have to do. Now look at all the things that you do that you don't need to do. I don't know. What could that possibly be? Maybe you don't need to spend so much time at the coffee machine having umpteen coffees. Maybe you don't need to spend so much time chatting to your colleagues. Maybe you don't need to spend so much time on Facebook. Maybe it's that, you know, what are the things that take so much of your time? Bye, Ron. I know you need to work. Thanks so much for tuning in. See you soon. Yeah, and I mean, really look at it and think, well, how much time have I got? And realistically, how much time could I dedicate to certain things? You know, some people say, I don't have time to exercise. I'm just far too busy. Well, in your mind, what are you doing? An hour? Are you doing 15 minutes? You know, so this concept of time, of thinking, oh, I just don't have time. And it's so easy for all of us to say, I don't have time. But the thing is that we need to make time. But here's the thing. And I know what all of you are going to say to me, because I've done it before and we all do it, right? You've heard this all before. Yes, I know I've got to make time. I've got to make time to do more exercise because it's good for my health. I need to get more time for my family. I need more time to read more books. So you know, there are lots of things that you think, yeah, I know, I need to. And then it all just becomes too much. And then you think, oh, you know what, forget it. So what happens is you keep thinking about it, and we keep procrastinating. And so we think, yeah, okay. So you then need to decide, how am I going to prioritize? Yeah, so Ron's just said that social media is a part of our life. Absolutely. So social media, most of us, we, you know, for example, in my work, social media is very important. So it is a part of, for me to engage. Look at me, I'm here, I'm on Facebook, right? You are on Facebook, you're spending time. But is the time used in a productive way? Or are you just scrolling at all the videos? You're looking at YouTube. Now, here's the thing. When I do that, it's amazing how 20 minutes or 30 minutes can suddenly disappear. And I've just been checking some funny dog videos, some funny animal videos someone posted, a stupid little meme. I don't know. You know, all of us have done it, right? Now, we all need that moment where we don't have to think about it and it's nice to flick. But I'm always amazed by how much time is just wasted on nothing. And we do have to have moments when we just don't think about anything. It's all about this mindfulness and about thinking, clearing our minds. But social media doesn't really clear our minds. It clutters our minds, right? So it all depends on how we do it. And I'm not suggesting that we ignore certain things. I'm saying that we need to be more accountable for our time. We need to really say, if something is important enough, we'll find the time, won't we? We all do, right? If it's important enough, you'll find the time to do something. If it's important for you to see your friend for a coffee because they are going through a difficult time, you might have a very, very busy schedule, but you'll find the time. If it's really important for you to exercise because you have to exercise because it's good for your health, your doctor has told you you need to exercise, or you need to lose weight, or it makes you feel good, then you will find the time. So Luciana is saying, isn't time sometimes, oh cool, let me look at this. Isn't time sometimes the lack of it an excuse in order not to do something? Yeah, you're very right, Luciana. I can see also around nothing from nothing leads to nothing. Yeah. Sometimes we say, isn't time the lack of it? When we say to people, I don't have the time, it's actually saying, I'm afraid to start it. I don't actually, it's an obstacle. We're using time, the lack of time, as an obstacle. And this is very true. And this is where, that is why it is so important to ask yourself why you're doing something. You need to always ask why you're doing something. In other words, why are you doing it? Is it for me? So is my motivation coming from me? And what am I going to get out of it? What is the outcome going to be if I do it? So you need to always ask yourself your why. You need to know why you're doing it. Why do I read books? Why do I exercise 3 times a week? Why do I go for my runs 3 times a week? That's a lot of time that I take. Why do I do it? A few years ago, I would find any excuse not to do it. Oh, I know I need to go running, but I'm so busy with work. I know I got to see my friends. But I'm so busy. No, we've used time as that excuse. But why? There is something else. Maybe you're afraid of starting something because you know it's just going to be hard work. So here's the thing, when I talk to my clients, when we talk about my coaching programs, right, they're thinking, well, I just want to have a conversation with you. And I'm thinking, well, no, you're not going to have a conversation with me. This is going to be hard work. And the moment we have hard work, it becomes this barrier. It suddenly becomes hard. And you know that that first step is hard, right? We've already discussed that. So pushing yourself to come out of your comfort zone, starting something new, and to keep going is going to be hard. That's why this long-term goal is quite difficult, because you think, well, if I start, oh gosh, it's just because in your mind you've got this long-term goal, and you think, oh no, it's just going to be too hard. You know what? Just forget it. I'm going to do something else. But if you break it down and then say, okay, this is going to be in small bits, and I will do it in small bits, then you will find that time. You will, because what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I'm going to find the time this week. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And the way I see it, and I'm talking to you as a business English coach, the way I see it is often you need to look at your diary and you need to see what do you think about that thing that you want to do? Is it a big chore? Or is it something that you really want for you? Is it sort of something that will make you feel good about yourself, will make you be fulfilled? Marina, hi, and you're saying normally I do something because I like it, something I must do. Yes, well, must do is interesting, because the must do, is that coming from you? Is it coming from someone else? So if you do it because you like it, and this is it. So if you're doing it because it gives you pleasure, then you're more likely to do it and you're more likely to find the time, right? Now, how many of us see English learning, oh, I've got to improve my business English, I need to see it as just one other item on your to-do list? Yeah, we all have to-do lists, right? Time management, Make your to-do list so you can tick it off and whatever. But if English, improving your English becomes another addition to your to-do list, what does that become? It becomes another chore. It becomes another task. It becomes something that, oh my God, really, it's another thing I've got to do. So it gets ignored. It gets put to one side. Evelyn, what you're saying is what I've started doing this year is to schedule what I really love doing. Going to the theatre, hanging out with my group of friends, going to cultural events in Lima. In other words, you have started scheduling me time. That favorite expression I like, me time. So you've decided to see this time that that you've decided, right, what I really love doing. I love going to the theatre. I love hanging out with my friends. I like going to cultural events in Lima. So you've decided these are really things that I want to do and I love doing. These are going to be my me time. So in your schedule, it could be week, it could be your month, it could be your quarter. You decide during that time, I am going to dedicate so much these little slots as me time. And Ron, perfect. So time is a gift. So you're going to give yourself a present. You're going to gift yourself that time. I had in the last 2 weeks a client with me on a coaching program here, my full immersion intensive course. And she's been made redundant and now she's looking for another career. She's leaving the banking industry and finding another one. And she wants to use English. She wants to be able to, she came to me because she wanted to get to a point where she feels confident communicating in English for her job, for the next job. While she was here, she also told me that she has been doing a history of art course for the last 3 years. And she really loves history of art. And she took the opportunity while she was here in London to go visit the National Gallery, all the different art galleries that we have, because she wanted to look at all the paintings she'd been studying. She also looked up a resource called Khan Academy. Some of you probably have heard of it, which is an excellent resource. I would really recommend that you look at it, because Khan Academy offers different resources, and there they have a wonderful section about history of art, and it's all in English and things. So we talked about this, and one of the things I said to her is, when you go back, this is what I want you to do. I want you to use your passion, your interest in the history of art, and use that to work with your English. Use your passion and use English as a medium, as a way to learn more about history of art. She's doing history of art in the Czech language. But I said, but you love history of art. You know so much about these paintings. Use your passion and use English as another way of communicating. So then she's taking that passion, and I said, then look at your schedule and slot in 30 minutes in your week, maybe 3 times, and consider that as me time. The time when I'm going to find out a bit more about my favorite paintings, a bit more about my history of art, the different periods in history of art, Renaissance, the Baroque periods and whatever, and do it in English rather than in the Czech language. So we created a template where she could follow this, but from her point of view in terms of time management, I wanted her to see it as this is your me time. Don't see it as I've got to learn English today. So this 30 minutes is now dedicated to my English. Because what happens in our psychology, we'll find any excuse not to do it. Ciao, Antonio. Lovely to see you. A big hug back to you too. You know, it just becomes psychology. Oh, I got to do this. It's my English. Think about when you were at school, right? If there was something that that you didn't like doing, what would you do? You'd find any excuse not to do it. So you procrastinate, you come up with any excuse why you can't possibly do it, you put it off, you delay it. But if you could use English, pick what you enjoy doing and use English as a way of doing it, right? So forget the business English side. Say, for example, you love knitting, you love blog posts, you love to read and write, Luciana, and you love English. Combine it, absolutely. Maybe you love, and I said to her, she loves travel, and I said, look up some blog posts, look at blog writers, travel bloggers. Find them in English. Have a look, subscribe to them, and every week for 30 minutes, dedicate yourself to catching up on those blog posts. Read up about that. Highlight language. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're learning anything or not. You're dedicating that time. So you start that way. And the thing is, it's a starting point. And the more you get into something, the more you enjoy it, the more likely you're going to develop it and try to find more and more ways to grow. So rather than say to yourself, okay, I've got the weekend now and I'm going to block 2 hours in my weekend for my English, I promise you that's not sustainable. You'll do it maybe for 1 week, 2 weeks, and then you end it. Why not break it out in the week and look at your schedule and really see, right? I don't have time. Really? Honestly? Surely 30 minutes in a week, 3 times a week you can find. We all can. Instead of going through looking at YouTube for silly little animal videos, cute animal videos, why don't you say, well, I'm going to look for a interesting video or television I'm going to watch my favorite television episode in English. Take that 30 minutes and do that. But do something enjoyable. Now, you're going to say to me, but Shanti, that's not going to help me with my business English. And maybe not. But you're getting into the habit. And this is a mindset. It's getting into that routine. The more we do it, the more. Luciana, you're saying your students spend time on Facebook, so I made them change the language to English. Exactly. Perfect. I've done that with so many of my clients. I tell them, change your default language to English. You enjoy social media. You love Instagram. You love Snapchat. Or, you know, whatever it is. Now, obviously, I'm dealing with business professionals. We're business professionals, we're in business, so we're looking at something that's appropriate for you. If you like Facebook, do it in English. But if you have a particular passion, stamp collecting. Ron, you like stamp collecting. Maybe you join a Facebook group that is about stamp collecting. Join something that's in English. That way you develop the joy of communicating in English. You're using English as a way to communicate about stamp collecting. So English is not your goal. Your goal is stamp collecting, but you just happen to be using English instead of German, Italian, French, whatever language you speak. And if you do it in small little bite sizes, that becomes easier. There's not this huge obstacle. And as you get motivated, you keep pushing, you think, I'm really enjoying this, I'm great, yeah, maybe one day it's hard, or maybe you can't, yeah, but you're still learning, this is what I'm saying. I promise you, then suddenly you'll think, look, if I can do this, I can do something else. And it just keeps going. You know, I always keep giving you my analogies about my running, and I know you're probably so bored about this, but you know, today I went for my run, and as I was running, I was thinking about this lesson. And I remember 2 years ago, just the sheer thought of doing a 10K run was just like, forget it. I'm never going to have the time. I don't have to do it. I can't do this and I can never do it. And the thing is, the more I pushed myself, the more I said, come on, Shanti, you can do this. And for a long time, I would do this run, stop, walk, you know, kept going, oh, you know, but it doesn't matter, Shanti, you know, at least you've done it. No, you know, okay, I didn't run the whole thing. And I come up with all sorts of excuses why I couldn't push myself beyond that comfort zone. And it's only in the last 2 months that I suddenly pushed myself to do this. And now I just realized in the last 2 months, I actually look forward to my runs. And every time I go, I really enjoy it. And I'm even now beginning to think, well, what if I tried going for 10.5, 11 kilometers? You to ask me that 2 years ago, I would never have done that. You would just like, forget it. All those idiots who go running for such a long time, what's the matter with them? Don't they have a life? Don't they have anything else to do? And that's the thing, but it came from me. Nobody else did it. So as you're doing it and you're enjoying it and you see that you can do it, it motivates you to do that. You know, it motivates you to want to keep going. So I always say to my clients, it doesn't have to be to do with business. Find something that you really enjoy and use it as your English. In terms of, I don't have time to practice my English in the week. There is no excuse. We have so much out there. You just need to sit down and be honest with yourself and say, right, is this a priority? Is this important to me? How am I going to feel if I can communicate well? Communicate, not even well, in English. How will I feel? I'll feel so good. Then do it. No excuses. Sit down in your schedule and be honest with yourself and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I can do this. Don't put yourself with big chunks. Small. And you can find the time. Less time on Facebook. Less time on the television. But then you think, I get tired. Okay, find the times when you're more alert. Stop with the excuses. We've all been there. We've all done it. I'm always doing it. I can't read my book in Italian at night because it's, you know, I'm so tired. I can't. I know I can. I just don't want to. And I know, you know, what I'm saying here is nothing new. We all do this, but we have to keep telling ourselves this. And it's exactly the same with learning a language. Learning English, improving your business. Don't see it as a chore. You've got to see it as, how am I going to feel once I've done 30 minutes of English, or 30 minutes of reading a blog in English, listening to a podcast, my favorite business podcast in English. How am I going to feel? Really good. I'm feel good. Keep reminding yourself and you'll do it, because we all want to feel good. So, and then see it as, this is my me time. I deserve it. I am just looking. Marina, you said, I worked a lot in my life. I had 2 children. I looked after my parents. I retired. Now I'm studying English, French. I volunteer. I'm following many courses, bricolage, photo, PC. And I'm happy. I always find time to do what I like. Yeah. Yes, of course, people will say, oh, but Marina, you're retired. So true. Yeah, but it's amazing how when you're retired, you don't find time. But you do. You found the time. Because you have that passion, you decide, I'm going to find that time. Even if it is just like 15 minutes, it's still good. It still counts. And that's the thing. I used to think if I can't do 2 hours or an hour and a half of something, I might as well not bother. We all say that, right? But you know what? And people always say, oh, but half an hour is better than nothing. And you go, nah, it's all or nothing. Yeah, the trouble is it's so easy to say that. But it's just one big excuse. So don't. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we have come to nearly an hour. Thank you so much for joining this class. I hope I gave you some food for thought about this idea of time, this idea of time management. Only you are in control of your time. Only you are the one who can decide whatever you're doing, is it worth giving the time? Yeah. So you want to work on your business English. You say you need to communicate, but you don't have time. Okay, it's really not my problem, it's your problem. So you need to be honest with yourself. How important is this? And make the time. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Keiko. Hey, Keiko, how are you? How's your goal? How many chapters have you read this week? How are you doing with your goal on, I haven't forgotten about the books you want to read in a month. So do let us know. I'd love to know. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Antonio. Thank you to everyone who's joined in. Let me just see, because I can see lots of people who were in here. So thank you, Luciana. It was lovely. And thank you so much for all your contributions. I hope I've given you some food for thought, as we say. And Marina, you're saying, how do we know when you're online next time? Well, I'm always here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. UK time. So that's GMT +0 at the moment. So every Wednesday. So the next time will be next Wednesday, the 14th of February. So St. Valentine's Day. Here, same time, same place. And it will be for lesson 55. Evelyn, you said, I'll make my me time the best. Yes, it's work. I've learned lots of vocabulary words. That's great. Thank you, Kiko. Great. Lots of vocabulary. Wonderful. That's good. I'm glad you did that. That's reading. Is it your chapters and stuff? I hope so. Good. Listen, everyone, thank you so much for taking the time, making the time to tune into this class. And I'm really happy. And thank you so much for being the wonderful people that you are. I will see you next week for lesson 55, and where we will be talking a bit more about these concepts of time, motivation, goal setting, and maybe a little bit about Valentine's, but more to do with Valentine's and the business of Valentine. Who knows? In the meantime, have a wonderful, productive week. Make sure you find time for your English in whatever way. Don't forget, just use English as a way to do the things that you enjoy. All right, it doesn't have to be English grammar and English, I don't know what, some boring thing that you have to end up doing. All right, ciao guys, see you next week. Ciao for now, take care, bye.